everybody here at 8:30 this morning. Appreciate you being here and participating. And at this time, I'm going to turn to Michael Cates, who's going to give our invocation. Mr. Cates.
Pray with me, please. Creator, we thank you for the gift of another day, for our health that allows us to rise, for your good graces that give us the opportunities throughout the day. May we take full advantage of the privileges that you have so graciously provided as we pray for our students as they come from a weekend of activity and recharging, and they are in our buildings this morning. We pray as they wrap up the year, begin their AP testing for their anxiousness, and we also know this is an exciting time of the year, so we pray a blessing upon our students and our faculty and our staff, and we just thank you for those that care so deeply for our children each and every other day. In your name I pray, amen.
Thank you, Mr. Cates. And we'll now be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Beth Hutchison, our Vice Chair.
Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchison. That brings us to the approval of our agenda for today. Do I have a motion? Mr. Cates.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as published.
Do we have a second? Ms. Hutchison seconds. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And Ms. Hammond, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Thank you. So that's unanimous. That brings us to our action agenda, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Melton for the superintendent's recommendations regarding the May 1st, 2019 missed day of school. Dr. Melton.
Mr. Gant, thank you to you and the board for allowing this opportunity. Of course, last Wednesday was a day of cancellation of school for School District 5, a day we had not anticipated and a day that was not weather related, however was attendance related. So because the event that was held downtown, organized by a group of teachers across the state, we became concerned about the safety and the supervision of our students. So the recommendation I brought forth to you today is the recommendation to waive the day of May 1st for students, not to require them to make it up, but to make sure that our faculty and staff have the opportunity to capture the day. And there's always choices as how to do that. We allow staff to take a day of leave if they would like, but then we also have a process that we have practiced often of logging the time to make sure that we can provide to the community of School District 5, the taxpayers, that the time has been worked, especially this time of year when there's so many end of the year responsibilities, tasks, and activities. We know that our teachers could use this time to the benefit to prepare for a successful ending of the year. So that'd be my recommendation, to require the staff to make it up, not in an additional day, but through a log, and to allow students to have the opportunity of May 1st waived for them. Mr. Gant.
I'll entertain a motion. First, we'll have discussion. Ms. Hutchison.
I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to waive the day of school, May 1st, as a missed day of school for students, and allow the faculty and staff who need to recoup their hours to make up that day through logins.
Do we have a second? Mr. Cates, second. Any discussion from the board? Ms. Hutchison.
I have a question.
Have a question? Ms. Hammond? Yes, ma'am.
I couldn't see what other hands. I hope I didn't interrupt anybody.
You didn't?
Thank you. I just wanted to be sure, I think I understand this, that Dr. Melton, is this similar to the flex time that teachers are allowed? Because I know they had a flex day in D5 that we ended up taking away because of the hurricane or whatever happened. And so I did have a question on that. If this is anything they should have already logged in, or this has to be new login time that we call flex time.
Ms. Hammond, make sure can you hear me well, Ms. Hammond?
Yeah, I hear
Okay.
Robert the vet or Mr. Gant. I hear you, but it's a little bit fainter.
Let me come closer to the phone then, if you don't mind. How's that, Ms. Hammond?
I can hear you well, yes.
Okay, great. I wonder if you're alluding to our swap day that is typically held throughout the summer. And the swap day was compromised because of our makeup time because of the 2 hurricanes back from the fall. But we were looking flexibly as what we could do to allow those that had worked last summer for that swap day to make sure that we still honored their work, so they wouldn't be penalized with a +1. It'd be my recommendation not to go back beyond May 1st because this decision or recommendation being brought to the board was simply because of the day of May 1st. People could have possibly had time that they had accrued before May 1st of other issues, but the logs had just been turned in to principals and to human resources within the last week. So I hope any teacher or staff that may have excess hours that they would like to report and record were turning through their logs from the hurricane days that we made up. And just a reminder to the board and the community, the board did take the opportunity to use the newly adopted and updated policy to capture some leave to allow students time to be waived. So we had 2 of the 5 days waived from the 2 hurricane events from the fall. So we feel like we're in a good place now to make sure that there aren't additional hours by staff, but the swap day itself is held for the summer, Ms. Hammond, just for us to make sure we can answer that for teachers. And then we offer that swap day within the calendar, which we did have to make sure that we revised for this year to guarantee them a day to swap that day out that they work back in the summer.
Well, Dr. Melton, so the swap day, because I did have a lot of questions from teachers on that after it had to be compromised because of the timeout we had not expected. They're still gonna, in some ways, but not for this situation we're voting on today, but they still will get that swap day, because I heard many say after they had that taken, it didn't really give them credit for that day in the summer. So I'm still confused whether they get credit for that or not.
Sure, well, I appreciate that because that directly aligns with one of our priorities of internal communication. It appears that we've got some teachers that they're asking you questions that may think that they were not going to get that day, that we've not communicated effectively. So I'm looking at Ms. Goggins now. We'll make sure that in our internal communication that the staff understands how those that work the swap day are still getting the opportunity to get credit for that day. But we want to be careful not to have a +1 where teachers could send us a bill that they'd worked an additional day when actually they may not have done that. So we've got to be very careful to make sure that we don't exceed their contracts of 190.
Well, so on this, then I'll go back to thanks about the swap days, because that was the question, even though that's not what we're voting on. It helps teachers understand it, and I appreciate you communicating that to them. So today, this time, they are given by this motion, they can log in from May 1st until the end of the year and show time served that could take the place of this day.
Yes, ma'am, that's typically how we do things, to allow them the opportunity. And they do work with their principals, and I'll use advanced placement as an example. We're kicking off advanced placement testing season, as our high school families and students certainly know. So if we have teachers that are hosting AP study sessions in the evenings or off-site, those kinds of activities will go directly towards their ability to log those time. It would also include things that we may be doing in addition to the regular school day. So some of the end of the year festivities that we have, those kinds of hours could be captured to make sure that teachers are not being asked to do more of the hours, but instead using them differently to receive credit for the time not worked on May 1st, but the time worked between now and the end of the contract year.
Gotcha. Well, Dr. Melton, I want to thank you, and that's one of my main reasons to be a voice for teachers this morning, and I know you have a teacher heart, and so I just want to be sure that, personally, I really want to go on record that I supported the teachers being able to make the choice to join in on the SD Ed event, and I also think that it's very fair that you were looking after safety. And I also think it was very fair that you're giving teachers a way to make this up, and so you're being prudent for the taxpayer. And please understand a teacher's plight, that sometimes this was their only way they felt like to stand together, and if it was important to them, I just appreciate District 5 and the board standing behind teachers to allow them to attend that rally.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond. Mr. Lovelace, yes.
Okay, so for the uninitiated, what login means is that our teachers, is this teachers and staff or just teachers?
Teachers and staff, yes.
Okay, and they log in extra hours to make up for an 8-hour day that was missed. And so, over a period of time between May 1st and whenever school's out, that we would hope that they would log in 8 additional hours. Is that what we're doing?
Well, it's a very sophisticated log, Mr. Lovelace, of a paper that is truly a log where they record the time. So we've not gotten up into the 2019 sphere of doing things in a very technological way. So each staff member will have a log, and we do have it available to them through Google Documents, but we issue a hard copy to our staff. So some contracts are 7.5 hours, some are 8 hours. It just depends on what the person does.
Okay.
Those that worked last week, like those of us at district office that are 240 employees, we work that day, so that's not a day that they're gonna need to make up. But those that are 190 employees, teacher assistants, teachers that are in the classroom, they would need to make that day up. So what they would do is if there's something that requires them to be at school after hours, that's an opportunity they could do to capture the time. Some of the events that we have to close out the school year, that's the time that they could record. If they have conferences with families that may be after the 3 o'clock or 3:15 time frame, they do that anyway. So this is an opportunity we can capture it to make sure they get credit for it, rather than just having a longer day that then leads to some of the morale issues and the fatigue for the end of the year.
Okay, so just the last little follow-up this, but, so if somebody on the staff at one of the schools showed up that day and worked, they were already logged in and they didn't take, or was that?
That's a great question. Thank you for offering that. Because the board had not made a decision, we did not allow anyone to come and log May 1st time.
Okay.
Now, I will put a disclaimer, those that are us that are 240, we worked.
Okay.
So those folks would definitely get the day of the credit, but those that had not been asked to come to work that day, if they had come to school last Wednesday on May 1st, they would have not gotten that day leave because originally that was an instructional day where both students and staff were expected to be there. So if the board were not to support this recommendation, then they would have worked a +1 that then they could send us a bill for technically. So we did not allow anyone that wasn't a 240 to work and get credit for last week.
I thought that was the case, but I just want to make sure.
Yes, sir. And I'd like to add the caveat as well. Those that would like just to enter a day of leave, maybe to make a statement about how they use May 1st, that's still an opportunity they could do as well. So if someone wanted to use personal leave, because we had so many that entered that, our human resources team had gone in and actually, we can cancel those out since we did not work that day, but if someone still wanted to do that, that's an option too, so they wouldn't have to work more hours to accumulate towards this log. So there are options within that as to how they would like to use it.
Okay.
Mr. Cates.
Dr. Melton, I think that this is one of those cases that illustrates why we work on our calendar sometimes a couple of years in advance, and it's still a kind of a living document. For example, I've had questions about why would you graduate a week before school got out, and I'm like, well, that's when Colonial Life Arena gave us a date. So I appreciate the hard work that goes into the communication, Ms. Goggins' office to keep folks abreast, and in essence, we're treating this day like we would an inclement weather day that we ended up waiting. Thank you.
Ms. Hutchison.
Yes, I just want to thank Dr. Melton and the administrative team for coming up with this recommendation. I think that it also benefits families. I know a lot of families, I heard from many parents who first stressed how much they support teachers, and they wanted to make it very clear, and that was repeated several times in conversations, that they support the teachers. However, they did not want the day added at the end of the year. They already had plans. So I think this is a wonderful way to handle a day out that was not expected, because it really, I believe it's a win-win for everyone. So thank you all for coming up with this solution.
And the only comment I want to make is basically, I think that we saw that our teachers and the teacher voice at 10,000 plus at the State House really made a difference. And I know this board, we've all gone down to the State House, we've all gone to visit a legislator, and they usually wrap their arms around us and pat us on the back. But I think teachers made a difference last Wednesday. And I think they put a lot of folks on notice that they are a strong voice. And I'm very proud of that for our teachers. So I'm glad that it worked out as well as it did. I feel it from a standpoint that we all know teachers work way beyond the 7.5 or 8 hours a day. I'm glad we got this log process, but I can assure you, if we were allowed logging all the time and we paid for those extra hours, we'd be bankrupt, wouldn't we, Mr. Richardson? So, teachers, I hate you have to log it, but I'm proud that we can do that. Thank you for that. And teachers, your voice was heard. And I think it was heard not only for teachers, but for educators and all the support pieces that go with that around the state. And I was very proud to see how that went. So, we're behind the
Mr.
teachers.
Gant.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I need to see my hand, I want to tell you, that was such a nice wrap up, but I have one, I thought of one question dealing with this, I didn't want to pass it up.
Okay.
You ready for it?
I am, and I think I was wrapped up, but let me just wrap it up by saying I'm very proud of our teachers, and Ms. Hutchison said this so well. Our parents were also telling us, please don't add a date at the end of this year. And we heard that. I heard it on my phone numerous times, so it was very evident. All right, Ms. Hammond, we will hear from you, and then we're gonna probably get to our next business.
I think that I got this right. As far as the 12 days each teacher gets, you know, and they request a day off, and I know that Dr. Nelson told me she monitored that, because if we had not had so many that chose to go, you might, and we had enough subs, we wouldn't have, you know, maybe had to do what we did. But did the days count against the teachers as one of their 12, or is just kind of, we did nothing on counting the days that they took off, because they had to ask off? So is that counted against their days?
Ms. Hammond, to make sure that the video that we're trying to record, I want to make sure I restate that so that since the call may not be clear on the video recording, Ms. Hammond's question, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Hammond, you're asking if someone entered leave for Wednesday, May 1st, and then we canceled, would that day still be charged against my number of assigned days? Okay, so that's the question, and the answer would be no, ma'am, it would not. Because the day was canceled at this time, that day would be deleted from the Kelly Services inventory. But if I'm a teacher that would like to go back and re-enter it once the board makes a decision, should the board suggest this recommendation, and I still wanted to make the statement of I've used the day of leave to support going and having the opportunity to participate, that would still be an option that I could take as a teacher, or I could take the log opportunity and not be penalized a day if I chose. So really for the staff, it's a good opportunity to select which you prefer of the two. Entering a day of leave that you would be charged and applied towards your account, or using the log that would be then capturing the time that you are required to make up for school district 5 business.
Good, yeah, and I thought that, but I was afraid that it's a total choice. And that's good too, because there may be a teacher that decides, you know, I'm just gonna use my day.
Yes, ma'am.
You're really smart, Dr. Nelson.
No, ma'am, this is just our process, and I'm just repeating our history, but I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond.
Mr. Grant, can I tell you one more thing?
Yes, ma'am.
I would, and I need to, my own disclaimer, but Jenny Hammond Gant, who actually is my daughter, but a teacher, and she's not Mr. Gant's daughter, but she's got a wonderful last name. I would encourage my board members, and I was gonna say this in person to you, to go to SC Ed and type in Jenny Hammond Gant, and if you read, I think it's gone viral across the nation of how teachers feel. And I just thought if all the legislators, all the school board members, and all the administrators read that, you might get spot on as to how she captured and articulated how a lot of teachers feel. And so I'm just taking a little privilege with my 6 board members to share that with you. You may have already seen it, but I just so much think it goes to the fact that teachers are not fussing just about money. It's just so many more things. And I'm excited that we have a superintendent and a board that I hope is going to just, along with what Mr. Gant said about 10,000 teachers strong, we finally are going to get legislators and school boards and all of those that make laws that hamstring teachers, administrators, and they're going to hear our voice. So thank you, Mr. Gant, and I promise not to talk anymore.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hammond. Thanks for sharing that. And I can say I think we're going to hang on the coattails of teachers because I think they have the momentum right now. That's wonderful. All right, that brings us to any other comments about the recommendation? Ms. Carter, sorry.
I just wanted to make a comment that I talked to a teacher yesterday from Greenville County, and that they were required to work that day. So I really appreciate that we allowed in our school district for our teachers to decide and to leave, because we waited to see how many teachers wanted to be a part of that before we decided just to cancel school. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate that, because I think that means we are listening to our teachers and we support them, and it's a good thing, and I agree that we should forgive this day also, because as a parent, it doesn't do much good to go to school that week, so.
That's a great point, I appreciate you. Any other comment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation regarding the May 1st, 2019 missed day of school, please raise your hand. Ms. Hammond, how do you vote?
Mine's up high in this classroom I'm sitting in.
Okay, great, so that passes unanimous. Thank you very much. So I'll now entertain a motion to enter executive session to consider the following. Item 6A, contractual matter regarding selection of an audit firm. Do I have a motion? Ms. Hutchison.
I move that we enter executive session to consider the contractual matter regarding the selection of an audit firm.
Do I have a second? Mr. Lovelace seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, and Ms. Hammond, you do realize that you won't be able to go into executive session with us, but we appreciate you being here with us in open session.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dan. It was very important to me to be there with our teachers.
All right, and I don't know what time we will come out of executive session, but you could come back in. Are you planning to do that?
I tell you what, if Sybil could let me know, I'll cut off now, but I'll leave my cell on. My kids don't come back in until 10:15 in my room. So I would be glad to, hear the end of it if you've gotten that far.
Okay, well, I'll make sure Ms. Towers. Yes, ma'am.
Y'all, just let me be sure, because we've gone through this once. We used to have a committee, now it's the whole board. You'll discuss this, have the presentation. I did leave my questions with Mr. Lovelace. And then would y'all come out in public and then vote today on the one we decided?
That's correct. Now, we won't be doing any decision in executive session.
No, I need it.
And this is, to my knowledge, this is exactly how we did it, I believe, 3 years ago, the whole board.
You did, and I remember that. But I had been on there another year, it was the committee, and then the committee brought it to the board. But I'm with you. And Mr. Dan, if you don't mind, that's what I'll do, and I appreciate so much y'all letting, Sybil call me in and be part of this. I think it was such an important thing, so thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, so we have a motion, a second, and we're ready to vote, I believe. We did vote, we did not vote.
Yeah.
We voted to go into executive session. All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously, and we will be back out after our presentations. Thank you all for being here. Meeting back to order.
Yes.
Ms. Hammond.
Yes, Robert.
We are, we just came back in open session, so you want to listen, are you planning to vote? I asked you that a while ago, and you.
I would like to.
All right, well, can you hear okay? Because we're getting ready to, we're back in motion, we're back in session, and I'm going to recognize Mr. Lovelace, who has a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we accept the proposal of Burkett and Burkett for the auditing services.
Okay. We have a second to that motion? Second, Ms. Gardner, any discussion? Seeing none, all, oh, I'm sorry.
Could you read this motion, Mr. Dan? I couldn't hear it well.
Mr. Chairman.
Will we read the motion?
Mr. Lovelace can stay.
I made the motion that we accept the proposal of Burkett and Burkett for the auditing services.
Did you hear that, Ms. Hammond?
Yes, I heard it. Thank you, Mr. Dan.
Okay, all right, so we had a motion, we had a second. Ms. Hutchison has discussion, first discussion.
I just want to say that I'm really delighted that our school district had such quality firms bidding for this. I think that, really quality, obviously, it took us a long time, because of the quality. So that says a lot about the reputation of the school district and, especially the reputation of Mr. Richardson and his staff, because clearly the reputation is that our staff is very thorough, very professional, and a good group to work with. So I appreciate, I want to recognize Mr. Richardson and his staff for that and for bringing us, 4 quality firms, 4 really high quality firms.
Any other discussion?
Terms?
Any other discussion from the board? And I would like to echo what Ms. Hutchinson said. We obviously spent a lot of time in executive session. We had some great presentations from all the firms. It was a very difficult decision, and we do appreciate the effort that went into those presentations. And I appreciate the board's effort to come to this point at this time. So it was great to have that much quality put before us, and it made it a tough job. So any other discussion? So we have a motion before us from Mr. Lovelace to offer the contract to Burkett and Burkett for the accounting services. And we have a second discussion. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes.
My hand is up.
That passes unanimously. We have one person absent. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Hutchinson.
I move that we adjourn.
Have a second? Mr. Cates, discussion? See none, other than some tired faces, I would say we need to vote. That passes unanimously. Ms. Hammond, you okay adjourning right now, get back to your class?
Ms. Hammond is, and I'm gonna give everybody 100 because they've been quiet while.
All right, that's good. We get 100 too. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.